Jai Shri Ram. This is a GRE AVA issue prompt. Analytical writing assessment. Issue means an essay. So issue prompt is an essay topic. This one is on conformity. If you are a GRE aspirant, which means you are going to take the GRE, so you should be preparing to be able to write good essays. So the topic here is pretty clear. Conformity almost always deadens individual energy and creativity. So that's the topic. So what is conformity? Conformity simply means following, compliance in actions, behavior to certain standards, conventions, rules or laws. What others expect you to do, and if you are willing to do, then that means you are a conformist. If you don't, then you are a non-conformist. And if you do the exact opposite, then you are a contrarian. So, a maverick, M-A-V-E-R-I-C-K. A maverick is a non-conformist. An iconoclast. These are all synonyms. I-C-O-N-O-C-L-A-S-T. An iconoclast is a non-conformist. Now the GRE topic here is conformity almost always deadens individual energy and creativity. So he says, the speaker says, 8 out of 10 times conformity is bad because it will deaden your individual energy and creativity. So you should be writing a good essay on this. And my suggestions are very simple. All these GRE AVA issue prompts are moot topics. Moot means debatable, uncertain. You can debate. You can take any position. So, and they are not entirely wrong or entirely right. So therefore, in your introduction, I advise you to take that position. In fact, use the word moot. State very clearly that the topic is indeed very moot, and therefore we cannot accept in toto, and we'll have to look at all the dimensions, we'll have to weigh the pros and cons, and we will come to the understanding that conformity in some situations is actually good and enhances and enlivens an individual's energy and creativity. While at the same time, in some situations, conformity could be bad. So that's my introduction. Now, your second paragraph could be, now let us take some examples in which conformity is actually bad and it will deaden an individual's energy and creativity. Full stop. Now, the most famous example is that of Galileo, who opposed the Bible and said that the sun doesn't revolve around the earth, nor is the earth flat. He was tortured and he had to publicly recant his statement because he was subjected to the Inquisition. I-N-Q-U-I-S-I-T-I-O-N. Please make a note. It's an important word again. Inquisition. I-N-Q-U-I-S-I-T-I-O-N. Inquisition is a dark chapter in Christian history. Inquisition is defined as a medieval tribunal to stamp out heresy. Medieval means primitive. Medieval means from 1200 to, let us say, 1600. A tribunal, T-R-I-B-U-N-A-L. A tribunal is a special court set up for a specific purpose. And to stamp out is an idiom which means to crush, to quell, Q-U-E-L-L. Heresy, H-E-R-E-S-Y. Anything that is considered disrespectful to a holy book, scripture. Heretical, blasphemous. So profane, P-R-O-F-A-N-E, profane. Profane means abusive or something that is disrespectful. So the opposite of profane is sacred. So Galileo opposed the Bible and he was subjected to the Inquisition. Now this word Inquisition has another common meaning. Inquisition could also mean any interrogation involving torture. Interrogation with torture. So that's exactly what the Christian Vatican, the Pope and all of them did during those times. And so scientific thinking was crushed. So this is bad. Fortunately, all the scientists who endeavored in Europe and America had the courage not to conform to these dogmatic statements within the Bible. So in fact, all science progressed not because of the Bible but in spite of the Bible. Well, you may not be wanting to write this because maybe a Christian professor may not like this. So you tone it down, write your own example. I don't care who feels what, because I'm dedicated to Satyameva Jayate. I'll speak the truth, however uncomfortable it might be for anybody. But here you're writing a GRE essay. So you will not want to unnecessarily rub the wrong side of some Christian professor who might take offense and then give you a low score. So be careful. So conformity, when will it deaden individual energy? When you are mindlessly following. See, there are so many American festivals or European festivals which Hindu youth are trying to imitate mindlessly. In fact, those festivals don't have any cultural basis, there are no high values, and actually wasting resources, and so this kind of imitating is foolish. If Americans imitate another's cultural festivals which are not based on any sound reasoning, nor do they contribute any positivity to existing society, then that would not be good. So conformity to superstitions is bad. You can write one paragraph. So people mindlessly conform to all kinds of superstitions, which will actually kill their individual energy, initiative, and creativity. So I think you already understood the point. So you can write about why and how conformity can be bad. So you see, many holy books say that women cannot teach, women should stay at home, women cannot preach, women cannot become priests, women cannot become prophets. So in this age and time, women are as equal, in fact more equal than men, and therefore this kind of nonsense should be trashed. Fortunately, the world has advanced because these kind of superstitious nonsense has been thrown out, lock, stock and barrel. So don't conform to these kind of things. Now you will write 2 paragraphs about conforming to, then the next paragraph after this you will write. Now let us examine what kinds of conformity is actually good and initiates individual initiative or enlivens individual energy and creativity. Now you can talk about high values. What should you conform to? You should conform to the law. If you are a citizen, you should conform to the law of the land. If you are truly a human being, you should conform to dharma or righteousness. That means a strong sense of what is right and wrong. And humanism. You must conform to a humanistic philosophy. Humanism would mean that you disregard a holy book in case if the holy book is saying something that is grossly unacceptable, unconscionable, irrational, absurd, and atrocious. Unfortunately, many holy books are dictating things which are misogynistic, hateful towards women, misanthropic, hateful towards mankind. That means people of other religions must be either proselytized, which means to be converted, or killed. These are dangerous things. We should never conform to this kind of nonsensical dogmas. So you can write about that. And what should you conform to? You should conform to great virtues. For example, the golden mean or the golden rule in the Bible. Do unto others as you would expect others to do unto you. So one should conform to this great principle. And Jesus Christ also said, love thy neighbor and love God with all your heart, mind and soul. And the next commandment was, love thy neighbor. So these are wonderful preachings which we must all conform to, and then we can make the world a better place. So what else should you conform to? To the law. If you are in a university, you have to conform to the bylaws of the university. Bylaw. Bylaw means, laws constructed by any organization for the sake of its administration. So you cannot go to a university and say, I don't want to study this subject, I can't take this test. So sorry. And suppose you are learning any trade, any skill, or any sport, or a musical instrument. You will have to conform to the requirements that the teacher or the guru will impose on you. Otherwise, you cannot learn. So you can go on and on. I'm sure by now you have sufficient ideas to write a good essay. And these are some questions. Okay? And in YouTube, you can watch ASCH conformity experiments. I think that was conducted by Stanford University. So please watch conformity experiments, and are you a non-conformist? You can take this small questionnaire, and it's actually quite easy. The answers are self-explanatory. Peer pressure is a phrase I wrote there. Peer pressure means, when your equals, when your friends, when your colleagues will force you to follow what they are doing. And if you succumb, then you become a conformist, mindlessly conforming to what the others are doing. That's a kind of herd instinct, herd mentality, herd morality. Herd morality is the worst. When people in your group are all committing a crime, you are also going along and joining them simply because you want to be a member of the group. You don't want to be thrown out of the group. There was also an experiment called Milgram's experiment, Stanley Milgram. Look it up on YouTube. So this is the back side of the paper that I created to help my students. So the atrocities of the Holocaust, you can see. Holocaust means the mass murder of Jews. During the Second World War, 6 million Jews were killed by Hitler. That's called Holocaust. The word Holocaust actually means destruction by massive fire, a huge fire. Nuclear Holocaust, atomic Holocaust. The Hindu Holocaust is actually much bigger than the Jew Holocaust. 6 million Jews were killed by Hitler. 80 million Hindus were butchered by Muslims, Islamic invaders. And of course, even Christians did the same thing. Goan Inquisition is there. A lot of our history has been kept hidden from us. So the Jewish Holocaust is much lesser compared to the Hindu Holocaust. So in this Holocaust also, there were many good people, many good Germans who simply followed what Hitler told them to do, because otherwise they would have had to suffer, or perhaps they felt, it is just okay to follow authority. Stanley Milgram, look up YouTube. Ralph Waldo Emerson, a great American thinker, his quote, I've put it there: to be yourself in a world that's constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. And do read up quotes on conformity, because there are a good number of issues on this theme of conformity. Obedience, allegiance means loyalty, docility, docile as a lamb, that means simply following. Orthodoxy, very rigid, dogmatic, and very rigid about religious instructions. Compliance, following. Some other words are: a nonconformist, heretic, iconoclast, maverick, means a person who simply doesn't follow, who leads his own life, not bothering about what others are doing. See, rugged individualism is the American ethos. Ethos means culture or the defining characteristics. Americans typically take pride in rugged individualism. That means doing whatever they think is right and being individualistic, not getting swayed by what others are doing. And this is a very interesting quiz. Are you a conformist? Take this test and find out. I found it on the net. You can do this. I'm sure you can take a screenshot and you can go ahead. So I'm sure now you are well equipped to write a good essay. And here is an interesting quote. You are in the process of being indoctrinated, and it's called education. Indoctrinate means to fill the mind with dogmas. Dogmas are rigid beliefs. The opposite of dogma is fact. Science is based on fact and evidence. Religion mostly is based on dogmas. So that's a nice quote. So finally, I'm sure you are in a position to write a good essay. Please listen to my talks, these video talks. And the topic specifically here is conformity almost always deadens individual energy and creativity. Our position is no, not exactly, because some forms of conformity are good. They are essential for a person to acquire a useful education, and then only can the flowering of creativity take place, and then the person can achieve anything worthwhile. For example, to be a great engineer, you need to go to an engineering college. You need to study the subjects. You cannot say, no, I'm not going to study all this. Then you can never become an engineer. Forget becoming great. So you will write about how conformity of certain types is good, conforming to the law, conforming to higher moral values, and blah, blah, blah. And then you will give examples of what kinds of conformity is actually dangerous. Jai Shri Ram. I hope it was a useful listening experience. Even if you are not a GRE aspirant, I'm sure these are all useful discussions. Bolo Jai Shri Ram.